The AFC East will be determined in Miami. Bills at Dolphins. We talk about it next on DJ Football. He is Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network. I'm Ryan Brown. This is DJ Football, presented by MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.ag. Get a great sign-on bonus when you use code NEXTROUND with your initial deposit at MyBookie.ag. Code NEXTROUND. What is up, DJ? How are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. We finally made it to the end of the season. Man, what an incredible weekend of college football. The NFL's got a lot to live up to here in the last week, but the game we're talking about right here is about as good as it gets.
Division on the line, which looked like a pipe dream for Buffalo several weeks ago. Let's start with the Bills. I mean, it all changed, and I don't know if it was coincidence. Joe Brady's done a better job, I think, than Ken Dorsey was doing. But once they made that move from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady, this has felt like a different football team.
You just need two things to turn around your season. You need a 3-part series expose on the head coach and why he's not the right guy for the job. And then you need to just replace the offensive coordinator. That's all you have to do. I don't know why more teams don't do this, right?
It's such a simple formula, right? Yeah.
It's so easy. It's so simple. No, but this is something that, they've turned it around this year, but this is something, if you look at Josh Allen and his time there, this is not new. I mean, I think they're 18-2 in December and January games since 2020. So he knows how to take his own level of play and dial it up a notch when the games really matter.
And we will talk about Miami in a moment, but this is a team, and this is a small window of data, but with Tua there and Mike McDaniel in his second year, they're not very good in December and January. So that's a stat. If you're a Bills fan, you got to like is how good you are in December, January, and how bad Miami has been recently in December and January.
Yeah, plus I think Buffalo's beat them, 3 out of 4?
Yeah.
So they've played well against them as of late. So in a team that's very difficult to match up with, Buffalo's done a nice job of kind of limiting the explosiveness of this Miami offense. So defensively, you look at the matchup there and you think, okay, well, Buffalo's really starting to find themselves coming to their own. And then on the other side of the ball, man, you look up and they're winning games without Stephon Diggs just, terrorizing teams. And so they're finding ways to get the run game going one week. The next week you see Dalton Cade get loose, the rookie tight end. And then, I saw Gabe Davis against the Chargers out here at the game of his life. So it's a more multifaceted offense than we've seen at times in the past.
I would say if you're Buffalo, the prospect of not winning the division, assuming the Steelers lose, and we'll get to that in a moment, but the prospect of not winning the division, and you're likely going to, there's a chance
you could be out.
Miami. You could be out. You can play Miami again. I mean, it is difficult. Let's just talk about that because with the Steelers. So here is the deal for those that don't know: if the Steelers win Saturday night against the Ravens, and the Ravens are resting everybody, including Lamar Jackson, the Steelers are a road favorite in that game. And if you lose, you're out of the playoffs. And I don't know, DJ. I was trying to think of a team recently where I could think if they're in the playoffs, they could win the Super Bowl, but they could not be in the playoffs if everything doesn't fall right for them.
Yeah, it's pretty wild of just like, man, if you could just get into the tournament. I would say, a couple years ago, doing the Charger games, they had that last game of the year against the Raiders. And you remember that it was winning in. If they tied, they would have both got in. And of course, famously at the end of the game, timeout was called and they end up losing. But that was a Charger team at that point in time where you look at the players that they had on that roster and the talented quarterback was like, man, if they get in, maybe they don't win the whole thing, but they could knock off one of the favorites once they get into the tournament, maybe one of the 3 best teams, and they couldn't punch their ticket. So here we are, Buffalo, same situation. You win and you're looking at the 2 seed.
I know.
With a chance, at least a chance that you don't have to leave home and go to the Super Bowl, or you're out. I mean, you talk about desperation. There's desperation and pressure on them. Some pressure, obviously, still. I mean, it's not like Miami doesn't have anything to play for here.
No, there's no doubt.
Difference between the 2 and the 5. But you would say that more writing for Buffalo on this one.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. That being said, if you ended up going to Kansas City, perhaps, that's not quite as harrowing as it once was. So even if it falls right for you that you don't win the division, but the Steelers lose, so you're in, really the only road trip I think that would scare a Buffalo fan, not scare them, but the one you wouldn't want is Baltimore, right? I mean, I think they would feel good about winning in Miami if they had to go play there again. feel good about winning in Kansas City if they had to go play there. I just think Baltimore would be the one place you're like, I'd rather not go there.
Yeah, and we can go off on a tangent on this one, but like to me, I look at it from Baltimore's perspective. The one team in the AFC that I wouldn't want to play is Buffalo.
No, I think almost every team in the playoff would say that.
I mean, I just think to me, if you're looking who can match up with Baltimore physically,
Yeah.
who can keep up with them offensively, Buffalo would be that team. So I know Baltimore's got, they got to play their game against Pittsburgh. They're resting their starters, but I imagine they'll be ready to pay attention to that big one at night with Miami and Buffalo. And I think they would be just fine and happy if Miami were to send Buffalo packing.
We are presented here on DJ Football by MyBookie.ag. Code next round when you sign on at MyBookie.ag. And you get that sign-on bonus, and you can use it immediately. Win once, it is yours and yours forever. Great games there, casino games, bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag, code next round. That is MyBookie.ag, code next round to get that sign-on bonus match. Also, Manscaped.com. Manscaped has these great products. I got the Handyman in my hand right here. They got the Beard Hedger, the Weed Whacker, takes care of the nose hair and the ear hair, the Lawnmower, which takes care of the full body, including the undercarriage. And you can tidy up your act with a clean shave before these playoffs get started next week. The ultimate franchise player is the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Takes care of that beard with 20 different links. It's waterproof. You don't have to have 20 guards. There's one guard on there. Dial it up, dial it down, never pops off and gaps up your beard. They've got all kinds of great products there at manscaped.com. And right now, because you're watching DJ Football, you're going to get a great bonus, DJF20, 20% off your first order at manscaped.com, DJF20 to get 20% off your first order. All right, if you're Miami, you're playing for the AFC, the AFC East, you're playing for the 2 seed, you would feel great about that, but you are limping into this game figuratively and literally after that trip to Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, it was, look, and I saw the video the other day of like Tyreek Hill's house is on fire. Like, goodness gracious, there's nothing.
Yes.
It's everything right now is kind of going against Miami. They've got to find a way to kind of regroup. Now, one thing I would caution people that have just put them, down and said, okay, this is it. The Miami Dolphins' best football is behind them. They got no chance. I would say, let's slow down. The schedule has really ramped up the last few weeks, and much has been made about their record against teams, under 500 versus over 500. I get it. They haven't beat those teams. But, man, the schedule's been rough, and they haven't been healthy. So can they cobble together enough healthy guys and man, just find a way to – if you can just find a way to win this one game, that man, it almost feels like you now have – you can exhale. You've got a new life. And now you start a clean slate and you go into the postseason. And if they get their guys back, their skill and their speed healthy, they're still incredibly, incredibly dangerous, especially with the way they've got Achane up and running a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, everything went wrong in Baltimore except for Achane. I mean, he was very, very good in that game. You were playing the game without Jalen Waddle, and listen,
Tyreek Hill was limping all over the field. I mean, he wasn't the same.
Right. That's right. And this team is different when it's Waddle and Hill than when it's just one of the two. We've seen it in both ways this year, whether it's either been Hill without Waddle or Waddle without Hill. Yeah, it's a totally different offense, and that's not earth-shattering news. That's your number 1 and number 2 receivers on the team, and probably 2 top 15 receivers in the league. So that's not earth-shattering news that they're better with both those guys in there. And now the concern, I think, the biggest injury concern is at your pass rush. You lost Jalen Phillips back on Black Friday on that terrible turf at MetLife, and then you lose Bradley Chubb in a meaningless garbage time situation that I know Mike McDaniel has kicked himself over. Those are massive, massive losses.
That would be the concern, especially when you go back and look at the first time these two teams met this year, where Josh Allen, threw it all over the place against them. Now you're not going to be able to generate that type of rush. That my concerns with the Miami Dolphins, I'm with you 100% on the defensive side of the ball. Where's the pass rush going to come from? They're still good inside. They can get some interior pass rush, but maybe one of the better combinations inside in the league. But man, where's that edge pressure going to come from? That to me is a major concern. I like Van Ginkel, but I mean that's not Bradley Chubb.
He's not Bradley Chubb, and he's not Jalen Phillips. And then on the back end of the defense, Xavier Howard with that foot injury. So now you're back to Eli Apple at one of the corners, and that has been a problem. You're not going to throw at Jalen Ramsey, so Eli Apple gets thrown on all day long.
Yeah, and again, Vic's got to be creative. Vic's got to come up with something here. Try and slow this Buffalo group down. Now, and going through the numbers and looking at this game, Ryan, one of the things that stood out to me, I was shocked that Buffalo, their offense was number 1 in the league in rushing EPA. So expected points added. They
Right.
are getting more out of the run game than anybody else in the league in terms of what's there, which, I knew James Cook is made the Pro Bowl and he's had a nice year. I did not realize the level of success that they were having running the ball, which is going to be, it's going to make them even more difficult to defend.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Buffalo, in fact, some might be surprised, just casual observers, that the Bills would be a 3-point favorite on the road in this game in Miami.
Yeah.
Sunday night on NBC for the AFC number 2 seed and AFC East Championship, all on the line there in Miami. Buffalo at Miami. We also have videos right in the same place you got this video on that Indianapolis-Houston game, which will decide the AFC South. And then can Green Bay beat Chicago and work their way in? Get those videos right here at Disrupt the Media and give us a thumbs up on this video and make sure you subscribe and set your alerts. The show presented by MyBookie.ag. Code next round to get that sign-on bonus. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.ag and Manscaped.com. Manscaped.com, code DJF20 to get 20% off your initial order there. He is the NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah, and this is DJ Football.